Hey class, this is your drawing number 9. It's by Magritte. It's called The Son of Man, 1964 oil on canvas. I like a lot of Magritte paintings. I'm a pretty big fan. You'll see I use quite a bit of his work in my examples. I think he's interesting because he was a fine artist, painter, but also kind of played with the edge of design. So I think his work is good for this class as examples. It's actually a self-portrait. And it's an interesting self-portrait. We've talked about this in terms of emphasis or focal point, and we'll talk about it also in terms of color. Have a little bit, it comes up in the color lecture as well. The painting consists of basically a man in an overcoat with a bowler hat standing in front of a low wall, beyond which are the sea and a cloudy sky. So we have him in his bowler hat and a suit, wall, sea, cloudy sky. The man's face, Magritte, is largely obscured by a hovering green apple, which is interesting. It's not connected to a tree, it's like floating in front of his face. However, eyes can be seen peeking around the edge, just barely on each side, right here and here. Another subtle feature is that the left arm appears to bend backwards at the elbow a little bit. This arm. You can kind of see it here. It's back a little further than this hand in space, but it's very overall pretty symmetrical. If you drew a line down the middle of it, you would see, generally speaking, it's pretty even on both sides. What makes it visually interesting is not necessarily its asymmetrical balance. Some things about the painting. Magritte said about it as a quote, "At least it hides the face partly well, so you have the apparent face, the apple, hiding the visible but hidden, the face of the person. It's something that happens constantly. Everything we see hides another thing. We always want to see what is hidden by what we see. There is an interest in that which is hidden, in that which the visible does not show us. This interest can take the form of a quite intense feeling, a sort of conflict, one might say, between the visible that is hidden and the visible that is present." So he was really playing with this kind of tension of what we can see, can't see, what we want to see. He had a lifelong quest to show images could be equal to words in the expression of consciousness, and questioning the veracity of word and image and how they work together. Especially famous for this is "This is not a pipe," painting of a pipe that says "C'est un pipe." It's not a pipe, it's a picture of a pipe. He deals a lot with semiotics, language. He started at age 12 in various styles of cubism, futurism. He's grouped as one of the surrealist movement, but I don't think he necessarily would have wanted to be part of a particular grouping, but he is put in that movement. He soon tried painting after he had tried various styles as an end in itself, and disliked being called an artist. He considered himself a thinker who communicated through paint. He was well versed in the history of philosophy, so he wasn't really interested in art for art's sake. He was interested in the concepts, but he is a good painter. He has a good painterly style. So it's interesting that he didn't want to be called that, even though he was very gifted at it. He wanted to be considered and revered for his thinking about things. So he's kind of a conceptual artist in a sort of way. At least we know for sure that concepts are very important to him. He understood that an individual's response to an image would always be dependent on their personal experiences and understandings of the object. So he's very well aware of the viewer's relationship to the things like the apple, the suit, a person, the sea, and sky. I think it's interesting in this that you can see, besides the subtlety of the elbow bend, there's also a subtlety of the way this wall goes at a very slight diagonal. You can see in the brick masonry work. The horizon is basically almost at his chest level, which is our eye level. So he's having us look basically of the viewer. The viewer's eye level is right there. So it's as if we're looking up to him to see his face and the green apple. It's above us as something we can't really reach. Well, we could reach it if we're in front of him, but we can't. It's not right at our eyes. We have to look upward to it, which I think reinforces his idea of the interest of the hidden visible, because we're looking up to try to look towards something we can grasp. There is a very strong connection here between the green apple and the red tie. Color-wise, they're opposites on the wheel. They're called complementary colors, the colors that make each other pop out the most. And so that really reinforces this movement back and forth with the apple, the face being hidden as part of the real focal point emphasis. Title of the name, The Son of Man, is got a lot of really strong historical reference. This is a title that's referencing the Bible, a name Christ calls himself in the Gospels. So this is pretty loaded choice of a title, as well as the apple in relationship to that, because we have with apples, there's the Garden of Eden coming through as an idea, and the fruit of knowledge of tree of good and evil, which is considered often said to be an apple. So he knows all that type of stuff. He's thinking about that. And so him being hidden by it, the name of it, he's dealing with some kind of philosophical, heady type of things he's trying to bring in, but he's not trying to answer those questions. So it's an interesting way in which titling can add another layer to a piece going on here. I think overall, though, it's about him being hidden and not seen in a way, and making you have to think about the comedy, the error, the weirdness of that surreal, dreamlike state. And the question is he trying to see you and he can't because of the apple, or he wants to not be seen by it? He's sort of stuck in a way. He's very rigidly planted. His arms are at his side. He's like a big cube. So it's almost as if he's glued in position staring at this thing. I think people presume always he's hiding himself, but in a way he could say he's hiding you as well, in a strange way. So there's a relationship between you, the viewer, or us, and him, with our eyes kind of not meeting, because our eye level is here at the horizon, which is always with portraiture. There's an interesting part to that. Like you're looking into a window picture of somebody. They're beyond just the likeness of them. There's always, in most portraiture, other symbols that people include to tell you about them. And so he's done that in a really more intense way. I put this black and white one over here to show you how the values, because you're dealing with a value, you deal with value assignments, color assignments, emphasis, focal point, line. There's different things. Well, I want you to see how the values and color relate to each other, and see how he's using them in his painting. Once you take away this relationship of color too, you can see that the focal point still is the apple because of placement, but the color really does add a lot to really vibrate back and forth. So it shows that. There's almost a comedy to me about it where it looks like a clown nose in a way on his face sometimes when I see it. That's just me personally. So interesting choice of suit, like a kind of regular businessman, like he's going to the bank to work, and this obscure, hidden, absurd thing is happening. So there's sort of a turning on the head of something normal. In 1964, this would be pretty normal dress. So interesting piece, lots of things to look at. Spend your time investigating the values and the form and the shape and look about contour of his jacket and things like that. Proportions and blocking out are the way to start with these things, and then adding more detail. All right, guys, take care. And if you have questions, please feel free to reach out. If you have questions about projects or anything in the course, I'm here to interact with you. Take care.